My name's Meg Linton. I'm the CEO of the Newport Beach Public Library Foundation. And this is the fourth conversation in a series we've called Studio Chats, where we've been interviewing artists and talking about what it's like making art in the pandemic and what their artwork is like and what they're doing in their studio. So today we have Juan Carlos Muñoz Hernandez, who is a amazing artist. He's a painter, a printmaker in his own right, and a muralist. We're looking at one of his murals now that he did at Homeboy Industries. He also has worked for about 20 years for the Robert Graham Studio. So we're really pleased to have Juan Carlos here today. And he and I met when we worked on a show called Bridging Homeboy Industries. So we wanted to start with looking at this mural. So Juan Carlos, welcome. And do you want to tell us a little bit about this project we're looking at?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so the mural you're looking at now, I did for Homeboy Learning Works. And it started right after the whole COVID-19 started. And so they reached out to me because not too many kids were showing up to their classes, and they kind of needed to bring some light and some good energy into their space. And this was my first time working on a project where I painted actually on the windows. So I didn't really know what the outcome was going to be. I had to do a lot of experiment actually because of the pigment and the UV, and so I did a lot of experimentation. Not here, but at my friend's place. But yeah, some of the lines are just spiritual realms of communicating positive energy from the earth to the heavens, and then as you walk by, so it creates some sort of privacy, but at the same time you kind of intertwine as you're walking through the neighborhood, through first and between First and State and Boyle Heights. So as you're walking by, you can see people on the other side on the sidewalk walking through. It's almost like they're weaving in and out of the building as they're walking.
Oh, beautiful.
As they're walking through, and then sometimes the colors, the very prime colors, it'll kind of the people walking through kind of disappears because they become part of the line, part of the mural, So then at the same time, it creates a reflection. So if you stand in front of it, it kind of reminds me of a monument that I seen in Washington D.C. I think it was the Vietnam Memorial, where there was so you become part of the sculpture. You could become part of the mural because the reflection that it gives you.
Yeah, that's the Myelin sculpture. It's beautiful as you walk down through it.
Yeah.
But Juan Carlos, how did you get this commission with Homeboy Industries? And do you want to talk a little bit about your connection to Homeboy Industries?
Yeah, I started doing murals for Homeboy Industries actually in 1988, and it was before. I think it was before Homeboy even kind of started. My mom was Paula Hernandez. She was a huge activist with helping Father Greg Boyle, helping homeless, feeding the homeless every day. So that's how I got involved. I got involved through doing my first mural actually was with Father Greg Boyle in 1988, 89. And because I was doing graffiti art before that. I was doing graffiti art before that. Then I also I grew up with a gang infested neighborhood where there was a lot of writing on the wall. Like everybody was territorial, showing their gang lettering, writing on the wall, and then I was introduced to graffiti art, of New York graffiti art, and I kind of combined the both, kind of, but not really. And then I would see a lot of the murals that were around and actually up the hill, because where I grew up, there was not too many murals where I grew up at. There was maybe one, but there was more writing than anything else, more territorial writing.
Yeah.
So I was kind of one of the first.
And it was through. Yeah, and it was through Father Greg that you were able to then start apprenticing with Robert Grant, right? And then that kind of led to you really seeing you could have an art career.
Yes, exactly.
Kunga,
Yes.
do you want to move to the next slide?
So this is
So talk about these paintings.
yeah, this was actually my recent commission, and so these paintings are they're a reflection of where I grew up at, the housing projects, and I grew up in an area where it was all blocky, it was all blocks, everything was all blocks, and we have roofs, and so which is in the painting I was trying to reflect on where I grew up at. And then there was also the hard edges on the painting, and those that represents my defense, my conscience, my awareness of my surroundings, and then also try to make the best decisions and the right decisions for me growing up. And so I kind of go back and forth of the present, the like the past, the present, and the future with these paintings. You know, different angles, again, trying to make the right decisions, and then the colors. The colors, I pick them out of feeling, kind of feeling over matter, kind of what makes me feel good. And there's also like, you know, the black in there, but I really like the black. Sometimes my eye goes into it, but then that kind of becomes infinity, kind of like the future.
Right.
You know, you don't really see it, but then kind of like you break through the
It's
fear.
nice how
You
it
break through the
It's
fear.
nice how it changes shape, where it kind of it fades. It goes really flat, but then it goes really deep at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what's nice about working on the glass too, is you've got that, you can see all the way through,
Yeah.
like on the image on the, I guess it's my right,
Yes.
of the glass office room that you did. You did a mural inside of with the studio where you're doing a residency now, right?
Yes, yes. That's
Magic Link
yeah,
Studio.
Magic Link Studios. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the picture you're seeing on the other side of the film, well, that's my garage. So that was right before the COVID. So that was my studio. That's where I would create, you know, late nights, and I thought it was important for me to share that my studio with you guys. And then now I was welcome, and I think it's such a gift for the Magic Link team to let me create here. So it's a pretty good energy working here with the people here, and it's a great space. I've never even dreamed of having a space like this, you know.
It looks like your paintings are taking it over too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's I come here during late nights. So I mean, there's about like 10, 15 people working here during the day, and of course they all practice social distancing. But I come here in the night when everybody's gone home, you know. And it kind of reminds you of when I started kind of writing graffiti. You know, I used to do a lot of graffiti in the night while everybody was asleep, tucked in their beds, all warm. I would, I would come out and do murals in the night, you know, in freeways, roofs, rooftops.
You're a stealth artist.
Yeah, yeah, and
So
yeah.
talk about these, because you've been getting commissions now to do these for like office buildings and so forth as well, interiors.
Yeah, I have. I've done a few conference rooms. Again, so these create other than like creating privacy, but then you could still see through. But then also, I kind of touch in. I go in like it becomes a spiritual kind of painting. You know, again, trying to put my feet on the earth, and then trying to locate the heavens up above. So that's where the vertical.
Well, and we were talking a little bit the other day about how this image is kind of the round image with the streaks coming down is like a keyhole.
Yeah.
And then you also have, you start with a certain number, because you had meanings for each of the numbers, because you were talking about the 4 directions and so forth. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of your ritual that you use to start these?
So the ritual is I usually I start with 4, so it's el nombre del Padre, el Hijo, el Espíritu Santo. I start with that, so that's 4, and then also the 4 directions. And then after number 4, I go to 7 lines, which is the 7th is the letter G in the alphabet, which represents God. And then after 7 lines, I go to 8 lines, which represents the number 8, which represents infinity. And then after that, I just take off, and
Uh,
I get in a quiet zone. Uh, I mean, everything's quiet. I remember painting this, and there was like a fire outside. There was like a fire department came, and nobody was hurt. Fire department came and police, and that didn't really bother me. It didn't. I was just like everybody ran
you
out.
didn't even notice
I didn't
it?
even notice it. No, everybody was running in and out with water extinguishers, and I just kept painting. I mean, I peeked out a little bit, but I was like, oh, no, nobody's hurt, so I just went and continued painting. So I was really,
I
really
think
like
it's
the
a
paint.
nice juxtaposition of your work from this like really formal aspect, but then there is this like ritual and emotion behind it.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of
Yeah.
an emotion. Like that little painting there I did in Malibu, and just listening.
Hmm.
And I was trying to do the paintings, like the color of the sand, the color of the clouds, and the sky, the ocean, the waters crashing in. So all that was taking in. I was taking it in and painting that. So there's been a lot of healing, I think, healing and creativity during this whole COVID, and then also have in mind other time I do paint. I have my wife and my daughter and my grandkids and my kids in my mind. I think about them every second of the day. So they're with me all the time. And
That's wonderful.
yeah, thank you.
So how do you get to the round shaped canvases? Are those canvas or are
Yeah,
they
that's
panel?
that's a stainless steel, actually. Stainless steel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So again, I always like trying something new, and this is pretty challenging. Just to kind of have the straight lines on a circular place, and then also, since it's a high polished stainless steel, so you could probably get a glimpse of me in there in the painting, because when I took the
Hmm.
picture, you could see myself. You could see myself in there, you know. Um, yeah. So again, I
So
just
it
kind
is a reflective surface.
yeah, it's a reflect. So I'm doing a lot of reflection surface things. I don't know. I mean, it's probably it's unconsciously, but then also a reflection of where I'm at now. Who am I? Who am I now? And where I've come from. That's always in my mind. Where I come from. Not too many of my friends are here anymore. You know, um, just
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
and
when you do the line work, are you freehanding the line work
yeah.
or are you taping it off?
No, I'm freehanding, but I use a straight edge. I use a ruler straight edge.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I kind of
Hmm.
I, I use a T-square. So I put the T-square at the edge of the canvas of the frame, and then I just go one by one. I start doing lines one by one, and again, it's filling over matter, and I sit back, look at it, I turn it around, flip it upside down, and trying to see images in there, and then sometimes I glare my eyes. I do all kinds of sorts of things to trying to figure it out. You know. And the thing,
So why don't you tell us about these three pieces? Because they're all different media, right? So you've
yes,
got,
yes. So one of the black one, it's actually it's wood, it's hardwood, and so each piece is individually cut and then individually shaped. And again, just trying to go into something deeper. Trying to go into somewhere deeper and like create a city of my own or create a shape that kind of has a meaning. That doesn't really say anything, but you still kind of go in there and play with my emotions, I would say. Not play with them, but just trying to figure it out, trying to figure things out. And,
we
and
have we have
then the end
one
result.
one of our participants today wanted to know if you're influenced by weaving at all. If you look at weavings or have thought about the idea of weaving, because
Oh,
the way your lines overlap each other.
no, no, but
So it's probably more
I
layering, like the graffiti kind of layering
yeah,
up on the wall.
I've seen Yeah, I've seen that before. Some a friend of mine told me it kind of looked like some kind of weaving from Peru, which is like
Mhm.
kind of spiritual. So yeah, I
Tapestry.
was like, oh yeah, 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 tapestries kind of. So it is. I am kind of weaving, and I think my life is I've been weaving and being molded, by life. So
Hmm.
it is definitely weaving. I could totally see that.
Yeah. Kuka, you want to go to the
Then
next slide?
yeah. So these are bronze sculptures. The one on the, I believe it's the left, or the with the public one. That's actually that I'm trying to manifest my destiny. Uh, that was a Photoshop for New York. Um, that would actually probably be 30 feet high. Um, so these are high polished bronze. They're one of a kind. And again, this was most definitely inspired by working with Robert Graham, and it's
Hmm.
the lost wax process. And I used to prepare the clay for Robert Graham when he would sculpt the female form, and by preparing the clay, I got inspired to do my sculptures. So it was kind of it was by accident. I maybe you could say that, but it was by accident that I started doing these kind of shapes. But then I was influenced also. You see the female form in there, and you also see like jazz music. Then again, more reflection, right? You see,
Right.
yeah. So
Those highly polished surfaces.
yeah, yeah. And then free flow, a lot of free flow movement in there, you know. And then
So how big, go back for a second, Kunga. How big are these? How big is the one on the pedestal in the middle?
that one is about 4 inches, 4 inches high.
Okay,
Yeah,
they're small,
yeah, they're small. They're small.
very intimate.
They're small but very heavy. So one could weigh like maybe 5 pounds.
Wow.
So if you anchor it on the wall, you got to make sure that it's anchored there pretty well.
Yeah. Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah. So this
So we
was
got, so how did you come to this? Because this is very,
yeah. This
it's similar to the sculptures. It's got the color palette of the paintings.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. So this is sculpting actually. I was teaching a class in Santa Monica, and I brought this.
yep.
I had to figure out what to do to keep some of the youth into making art. And so I brought the sculpting in, and I just, when you do graffiti art, when you do the pieces, you want to use a lot of color. You want to use a lot of color. I use a lot of color, and you want to balance a lot of the colors. You don't want them all in the same spot. So I was referencing and mirroring graffiti art pieces, but into clay, into sculpting. So
Oh,
this is
beautiful.
baked. And I really like these pieces because they're very earthy, because they remind me of plants and a caterpillar, a rose petal. Then you have also the human body, and which looks like limbs. Some of them
Yeah.
look like could be a leg, and then like a little. I usually like do balls, little balls refer as a human head. Then also in my paintings, when I do my paintings, I do a lot of flesh color representing the humanity.
Kunga, let's go to the mural.
Yeah, so this is
So
a
when we were, yeah, so when we were putting the presentation together, we kind of put these two images, the Sculpey and this painting together, and it was just like, wow, you could see the connection.
yeah. So
So,
this all the work you've seen now. It's all recent work, other than the last 2 3 pictures. But this is a mural done in Marina Del Rey. Actually, it's my neighbor, and I call this the spirit of the can, the spirit of the aerosol. So in order for this to work, the aerosol has to have a lot of spirit, uh, referring to a lot of pressure. If it doesn't have a pressure, I can't create what you're seeing now. Um, so I reference that to the spirit. So in other words, like you have to have a lot of spirit, a lot of motivation, a lot of inspiration, a lot of discipline to kind of. It's a metaphor for life. You know what I mean? So And
Right.
so this painting, it's a lot of gesture. Again, no sketchings involved. It's all just all feeling over matter, you know.
So did you, so what kind of paint are you using for the murals? And then what are you using in the studio?
So for the murals is enamel spray paint, right? And for the studio, I'm using acrylic. It's acrylic paint. Uh, these are actually markers. I use markers, and they're Posca markers, and I believe they're from Japan. And
Uh-huh.
I was using another paint that was from Germany, and I still use the paint from Germany on my nebula paintings that I do. So this is the combination of so the paint in the background, uh, it's paint from Germany, right? That looks like watercolor. My nebula series. Then the top of the paint, that's the paint from Japan, which is marker. Um, and then also so this represents the nebula in the universe. And then also I started doing these keyholes, which is like the keys to success, um, kind of thing, you know, and this is pretty rarely new. This is something that I've been kind of touching the last few months of this time that
So
we're
are
all.
these, are the, so is the background really flat
Oh, what was that
so
again?
that you can do the marker, or is there texture to the nebulous part of the painting
Yeah,
versus
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. So I do the background first, and then once it's all dried, and then and once I treat it, then I'm able to paint on top of that. So it doesn't, it kind of flows on top. I don't really want it to kind of blend together. So there's a
Right.
back in a forward kind of thing, you know, and yeah. So there was a lot of experimentation before I got to this point here, you know. And so this is that magic link. It's a mural that's here, and I see it every day, and uh, it was a very experimental thing where the colors, even though I use like 33 different colors on this mural, and so some of
Mm-hmm.
the colors didn't really want to be next to each other, but I kind of forced them to be next to each other because now they're going to be there for, you know, living with each other.
Right.
And yeah, so this was titled Good News Born from Darkness, and then also Control Chaos. And so again, it was a very spontaneous mural, and very emotional mural. It's actually 25 feet high, and it kind of took over me as I was painting because I had other ideas to do on the wall, but then it just kind of took over me. And then the end result was like it looks like a heart. I think you were saying it looks like a heart shape, and then
Yeah.
also like a V, and then also kind of like where you see birds flying in the sky, and there's just like one in the front, and then it creates like a V shape stuff. So yeah, this was a very
Well, again, you
exciting
kind of
mural.
keep, yeah, you're now in this place where you're contrasting all this kind of chaos, but then you still have the lines like coming down,
Yeah,
but they're also not quite as
yeah,
sharp. It's almost like it's rain coming down.
yeah,
It's very
yeah, yeah.
powerful.
Thank you,
So in
thank you.
this is, oops, this is leading into, you did this large mural that, was this a commission? It's in North Carolina, isn't it?
Yes, it's in Durham, North Carolina. It's at one city. So it's a new building. I think it's like 30 stories high, and it's a commission. And this is where I started doing the nebula, and then I also put the lines in there, but I didn't want to put too many lines because then it was going to take over the background. And this was actually paint. I did it on the floor, so I laid it down on the floor, and it's a 5 panels. And this is kind of actually how I started through this mural, I started figuring out the nebula, but not only that, but building bridges to now where I'm painting now magically. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so they would come across the way and see me paint this, and they were just, what are you doing? And they started asking me questions, and I started showing them my technique, and they were just, they were blown away by what it does. Like before the paint sets, it goes through this transformation, like this metamorphosis of like beauty and chaos and all this like battling together, like almost like if the colors are having a conversation, and there's a lot of argument in there, there's a lot of love in there, and then at the end of the day, they're like, wait, we're gonna live together, so let's just get along and comb your hair back or whatever, and let's chill, let's kick it and let's live together in harmony. And
That's wonderful.
that's,
So if you're painting these on the floor,
yeah,
is it what kind of paint are you still using? The acrylic paint?
yeah, it
Are
is.
you is
It's an
it
acrylic. It's acrylic,
okay?
and that's the paint actually from Germany that I use.
Okay.
And I mix it up with some of the paint from I use Nova Color. Nova Color. They
Uh-huh.
look at it. Some people are. It's a very good paint. The reason I'm sharing this is another nebula. The reason I'm sharing this picture is it's a friend of mine, Felipe Esparza, that I grew up with him, and now he's pretty famous. He's a famous comedian. Some of you guys are probably familiar with his work. He's on Netflix, and we have the
Uh-huh.
similar story where we're both in dark places. We both consumed a lot of the negativity that was around us, which is drugs and stuff, and gangs, and we're part of that whole all that darkness of surroundings that affected a lot of our childhood friends. And actually, Felipe, I've known him since we were in the second grade, and
Oh
yeah,
wow.
so he came over to my studio and he liked the nebula paintings, and then he took three home, and I thought I'd just share that with you guys just to kind of go back to Father Greg Boyle, because Father Greg Boyle he had a big part of in Felipe's Sparsa getting out of that darkness, like myself, Father Greg kind of got me out of that darkness, kind of showed me the light, and then also a lot of people had a lot of people help me out, um,
Yeah. Well, that's what seems to be the magic of Father Greg is he gets you to the right place and then you kind of grow from
yeah,
there.
yeah, and talk about magic, and now I'm at Magic Link, you know, it's
Yeah.
everything's kind of weaving to that the person that kind of saying about weaving, and yeah, life is a weave,
Yeah.
kind of you have to kind of rip up that one weave you don't like, we rip it off and put a new one in there, one with knowledge, you know. And this is my recent
Right.
this is one of my recent paintings, and these are on acrylic plat uh, board, plexiglass. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah, and so this was about maybe 4 sessions, because I'll do a session, let it dry, do another session, let it dry. Again, the nebula doing these nebulas it kind of tears me up sometimes, because I feel like I'm going into the wrong place sometimes, and then I'll sleep, let it calm down, let it cool off. I'll come back the next day or a week later. Then I'm like, all right, this is where it's happening, and then I add the keyholes to it, so it's
Mm-hmm.
control chaos again, you know. So I'm using the control chaos a lot lately.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So, well, Carlos, do you go out and look at a lot of artwork by other artists?
Recently, I haven't. To be honest with you, I haven't been doing that, but
Well, because of COVID,
yeah,
but
yeah, because of COVID. But I do go to museums, like uh, yeah, I do go to museums and stuff. But no, not really do that. I kind of been more inside my studio painting. You know?
good. It's a good time for that.
Yeah, it is.
So are you doing more of these types of paintings with the keyhole and the nebula, or are you moving beyond that now?
Yeah, I'm doing these for now, and then I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna do actually a portrait, a family portrait with the line work uh, next, and also move in to more of the line work. Like last night, I was here at the studio, and I kind of got this idea where I'm gonna do like a lot of movement, a lot of lines that are moving, and then at the lines, the weaving lines to it, you know, and kind of have the idea of La Pieta in my mind, you know, where Mary's holding
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, kind of have that shape in my
Right.
mind, and not actually see a picture of it, but have it in my mind, and that'll be the feeling that you'll see, hopefully, that you'll see when the nebula is done. When
Oh, wow.
the nebula weaving, you know, I call these the line work. I kind of call them rios de la vida, rivers of life. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful. The one thing I love about visiting you is it's always changing. You always seem to be moving the work in a different direction, but it's kind of, it seems, it, it just seems very natural, kind of like you're flowing on a river and you're just pulling in whatever influences you need at the time, you know? It's really a fabulous
Yeah,
way of
yeah,
working.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I don't seem to be getting. I mean, I love both of like when it's like sometimes when I'm doing sculptures, I feel I'm painting. Sometimes when I'm painting, I feel that I'm doing sculptures. Um, so yes, I'm always moving. I'm always. It just depends on how I feel and what's in front of me and what I see, who I talk to that day,
Yeah.
and then I get inspired by reality and my surroundings.
Well, it's been really lovely to talk to you and kind of see where you're at with things. And I'm really glad that you and
Thank
your
you,
family are all healthy and safe. And we just want to really
thank
thank
you,
you for being
thank you.
part of this series. We have recorded today's program, so it will be available as a link in a few days after we edit it. And again, thank you so much, Juan Carlos, for being here today.
Thank you. I would like to thank you and Kunga and the Newport Beach Public Foundation for having me uh, uh, do this interview. This is my first Zoom
Well, you did
interview, and
fantastic.
the people that thank you, and the people that are listening, that are out there listening. Thank you so
Yes, and
much. I
also
greatly appreciate.
thank Magic Links for us too.
Yeah, I will, Matt. Yeah, Magic Links.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.